What's up, strongest men, women, and children from blocks all around the world? Tonight, I wanted to get on and talk about the Giants Live World Open 2021. That is the Giants Live World Open in Manchester, England, where we're going to have the Giants Live World Open plus World Deadlift Championships. In other words, the World Deadlift Championships will be the first event in the Giants Live World Open, and then we'll have a total of 5 events, so 4 more events after that. If you haven't caught my other video where I went through the deadlift championships and what my predictions are there, you should check that out, but you will see those divulged in this video as well. So you're going to get an event by event breakdown of where I think everybody will place of all the competitors that remain in the World Deadlift Championships and the Giants Live 2021 World Open. So let's get to it. Let's take a look at my research. And for those of you who missed my breakdown on the World Deadlift Championships, I talked about the competitors who are no longer competing and kind of the ones who have slid in their place. So just a quick rundown of that again. Payman Maharipur is out due to travel restrictions. Gav Bilton has stepped in. Andy Black has also announced earlier this morning that he will be competing at the World Open as well. The Stoltman brothers are both out. Luke with a bicep injury and Tom with that hamstring minor injury that he's been dealing with. Pavlo NAKONECHNYY and Ivan Makarov have elected to both take part in all 5 events. So they were originally guest deadlifters only, and now they will take place in all 5 events. Iron Bibi is out to focus on the upcoming log press record attempt, and Asko Karu has a back issue or has injured his back, and that is going to prevent him from competing. So that's the breakdown of the lineup changes. Now, we went through in detail my research on the deadlift for each guy. So let's go through the other 4 events. We have a Viking Press, we have a Farmers and Chain Drag, we have a Front Hold, and we have Atlas Stone. So the weights are not anything that I was able to grab, but we can look through what these guys have done in previous competitions. And in some cases, I had to find events that were as similar as possible. Not everybody's done a Viking Press. Front holds are hard to find, so I did my best. So let's go through them. Viking Press. Adam Bishop did in 2020 Europe's Strongest Man. He did a rock press, which would be sort of a similar neutral grip movement. He did 100 kilograms for 4 reps, and that was tied for 3rd place in that competition. Gabriel Pena had a recent Instagram post. I couldn't find anything on Strongman Archives on him. He doesn't have as much history as some of the other guys, but he was doing 380 pounds for 5, 365 for 8, and 300 for 12. Moving on, Oleksii Novikov had a recent Instagram post where he looked really strong. If I was reading it correctly, it seemed like it was 190 kilograms for 11 reps. So super impressive there by Oleksii. And he's typically very well known for his overhead pressing prowess and was looking that way in this particular post. Moving on to Evan Singleton, he participated, and forgive me, I believe this is a French name. I'll do my best. The Contact 2019 Festival de Homme Fort d'Ivarvik. 11 reps, which put him in 4th place out of 12. So he did very well at that particular competition where he did have a Viking Press. Of course, I've grayed out the gentlemen who are no longer participating. And we move on to Mikhail Shivlyakov, 2020 Arnold Strongman Classic. He had a trial by Stone, so it was 125 kilogram rock press, followed by 136 kilogram rock press. So Husafeld, it was quite an in-depth medley. So he managed the first press, but not the second one there. So that, again, not exactly a Viking, but a similar movement. We can kind of derive where we think he'll do. Rauno Heinla was tied with 6.5 out of a possible 12 points at the 2019 Arnold Australia with a Viking Press. So kind of mid-pack there. A little bit better than mid-pack because of the ties. And then Pavlo NAKONECHNYY had a recent Instagram post where he was doing 200 kilograms for an easy 15. So that's extremely impressive. Pavlo, for the most part, doesn't have any international competition data and only powerlifting lifts for the most part on his Instagram. So he has squat, bench, and deadlift. He had that one Viking press, but aside from that, it was very difficult to judge where I thought he would place in some of the other areas. But moving on, Nedzmin is only participating in the deadlift, so we won't judge him on any of the other events. Ivan Makarov in 2017 at Strongman Champions League World Overhead Lift Championships did 160 kilograms in the 60-second time limit, and he zeroed that event. So Gav Bilton at 2020 Europe's Strongest Man did a rock press as well, 100 kilograms for 4 reps, and that was tied for third in that particular event. And then he also in 2021 UK's Strongest Man, which I believe he won. I think that was his second consecutive year winning UK's Strongest Man, had 6 out of a possible 8 points with 8 reps in this event. So did very well there very recently. Andy Black at that same contest, 2021 UK Strongest Man, did 1 rep, which was 4 points. He was in that event the lowest person to not zero it, so not really a strength of Andy's. That's the Viking Press. Now we move on to farmers and chain drag. So chain drag was hard to find for some of the guys. I tried to find truck pulls or things that were as similar as I could. And for some of them, they did farmers recently. So Adam Bishop, for example, at the 2020 World's Strongest Man, his farmers was 150 kilograms for a 60-second time limit. And that's the one where they had to go for distance. It's the one they did indoors, if you remember, because of the hurricanes in Bradenton, Florida. And so he was last in his group there. So, you know, kind of judging by that. Gabriel Pena had a recent Instagram post where he was kind of out by himself. He does it in the Texas nights. It's really kind of cool to watch his video clips. 305 pounds in each hand farmers into a 480-pound chain drag. So he was trying to mimic the actual medley, which was interesting and always good to see that sort of thing. 2020 World's Strongest Man farmers. It was, again, same one I just described for Adam Bishop. Gabe didn't do great there. He did 9.89 meters in a group where Jerry Pritchett did 52 meters. So not great there. At the 2020 Arnold Amateur Strongman World Championships, though, he did 159 kilograms for 18 meters in 9.56 seconds. And let's see, that was... There you go. And that was a strangely 8.44 points out of 10. Not sure why. But anyway, so Gabe kind of, if you average it out, he's decent at this. He's kind of middle pack. He's not fantastic, and he's not as bad as some of his poorer performances may indicate. Oleksii Novikov at 2020 World's Strongest Man, his farmers, he did 57.54 meters. And again, that was the one that was for as far as you could go for distance. He easily won his group and had the best overall distance as well. So Oleksii, very, very good with farmers, at least at that weight. Moving on to Evan Singleton, he had a recent IG post, again, doing this exact medley like Gabe Pena was doing. I don't know what the weight was, but he looks solid on it. 2020 World's Strongest Man farmers, again, that same weight for the same distance that we just described. He did very, very well on. So he was at 52.25 meters, which won the group and was very close to the top distances of everyone. And so we move on to Mikhail Shivlyakov, again, skipping past the gentlemen who are no longer competing. And Shivlyakov at that same 2020 World's Strongest Man farmers he was 4th out of 5 in his group, but he did 42 meters, which is still a very good distance. It was in a tough group. 2019 WUS Dubai, he had a truck pull where he was only 2 out of a possible 14 points there. So in terms of the chain dragging, you know, truck pull, not exactly the same, but you know, again, we had to do our best. 2021 Forza Bruta, he did a 300 kilogram chain drag in the weirdest medley ever, which was so weird it made me misspell medley here. And so that medley was, it was like a chain drag into a deadlift, into power stairs. Like it was absurd, but 4 out of 4 points there from Misha. Moving on to Rauno Heinla, that same Forza Bruta event. Sorry, Misha was 3 out of 4 points. Rauno's actually the guy who won that event, 4 out of 4 points there. 2020 Arnold USA, he was only 2 out of 13 points on farmers. 2019 WUS Dubai, he was 9 out of a possible 14 points, so better there, maybe indicating that Arnold USA, an anomaly for him. 2019 Arnold Europe, he had an arm over arm pull, so not exactly a chain pull, but you know, similar in some ways. 8 out of 18 points there. 2019 Arnold South America, 9 out of 9 points there. So a little bit up and down, but trending toward kind of the top guys for Rauno. And then again, we skip past Asko, who unfortunately no longer competing and never, I think, was slated to compete in all of the events. Pavlo NAKONECHNYY, again, for farmers, front hold, and Atlas stones, I'm going to tell you the same thing. I only can see him doing really powerlifting lifts on his IG. Very, very hard to judge for him. And so we move on to Ivan MAKAROV, who in the 2019 Strongman Champions League World Record Breakers didn't complete the farmer's distance. So it was 140 kilos for 60 meters with a 75-second time limit. His distance was enough to get him 4 out of a possible 11 points. Gavin Bilton on that 2020 World's Strongest Man Farmers that I've described over and over for some of the other guys, did 31.5 meters, fourth in his group, a decent distance, not fantastic, but decent. And then at 2021 UK Strongest Man, there was a carry and drag, and he was 4 out of a possible 8 points there. So kind of a middle performer in this kind of event. Andy Black at 2021 UK Strongest Man, it was 100 kilograms. Sorry, that's the Atlas stone. So Andy Black, we didn't have any data for him there. We then move to front hold. And front hold, that notorious one that's really hard to predict. So Adam Bishop did 10.87 seconds at this year's World's Strongest Man. I haven't seen that episode yet to judge if he stopped because that's all he needed or what, because he actually did a video with Big Laws not too long ago where he seemed pretty good at front hold. So very difficult to tell. He did 34.6 seconds at the 2016 Britain's Strongest Man, but that's a few years ago now. And that was only good for 3 out of a possible 11 points. Gabriel Pena, I couldn't find anything about him doing front hold. Something tells me he'd be really good at it. He's a very motivated kind of guy, and can really get up for these sort of things. So it's a guess. I'll just divulge now. I'm giving him a lot of points there, but it's a guess. And sometimes that's what predictions are. Oleksii Novikov did 32.81 seconds at this year's World's Strongest Man, which was 4th in his very, very tough group. Tough for all the events in the group, not just this one. Evan Singleton did 28.9 seconds, which was 4th in his group at World's Strongest Man. But Evan, we've all come to realize now, was under the weather at World's Strongest Man 2021. And if you watched the Giants Live Strongman Classic 2021 and saw what Evan did there, coming in second place, you'll see that he really did prove that World's Strongest Man was a bit of an anomaly for him this year. Moving on to Mikhail Shivlyakov, 2021 World's Strongest Man. He did 23.25 seconds, which was 4th also for him in his group. And front hold for Rauno, I couldn't find anything for Rauno Heinla there. And then moving on to Ivan MAKAROV in that same 2019 SCL World Record Breakers. He had a 25-kilogram front hold, and he did it for 27 3/4 seconds. So that was only 1 point out of a possible 11. So last place there. He didn't, 0, but 1 point out of a possible 11. And then 2019 Strongman Champions League Russia, again, 1 out of a possible 12 points. So not a good event for MAKAROV at all. Not a good event for him at all. And the funny thing is, MAKAROV, who has a brief international competition history compared to some of the other guys on this list, still went to all the right competitions for me to get research done on these particular events. So it really worked out well. As you see, I have all the boxes filled for him. So that was very, very interesting. Moving on to Gav Bilton, he did 31.02 seconds at World's Strongest Man 2021 this year, which was 4 out of 5 points in his group. And 2020 Europe's, he did 6 out of 12 possible points there in the front hold. Andy Black, I couldn't find anything in terms of front hold evidence for him. And then we move on, of course, to the grand finale, the Atlas Stones. And so for Atlas Stones, we'll move back up to the top of the list. Adam Bishop completed the run in 21.58 seconds at this year's Strongman Classic, Giants Live Strongman Classic, and that was 4th out of 11 competitors, so very good for him. He did 4 out of 5 stones in 30.62 seconds at this year's World's Strongest Man. Gabriel Pena recently put up an IG post where he was doing 163 kilogram stones for 3 reps, and it was, easy medium for him, not a huge struggle. Oleksii Novikov at this year's Strongman Classic got 9 out of a possible 11 points on the Atlas Stones, being just barely edged out in almost a photo finish by Evan Singleton. Not photo for me. I could see Evan won it, but some people thought it was a photo finish. And 14 out of a possible 15 points at WUS Bahrain this year for Oleksii, 7 out of 10 at the Shaw Classic last year. He's a perennial good Atlas Stone lifter. Nothing negative to say about him there. And here is the aforementioned Evan Singleton, 20.22 seconds at the Strongman Classic this year, which was second place only to the incomparable Tom Stoltman when it comes to Atlas Stones. And then we move on, of course, to Mikhail Shivlyakov at 2021 WUS Bahrain. It was a 10-stone run there. He only got 1 point. At the 2019 WUS Dubai, he had 7 out of 14 points there, so kind of mid-pack. Rauno Heinla at the 2021 WUS Strength Island, he was mid-pack, 7 out of 15 points on the 10-stone run. At the Siberian Power Show this year, he was 9 out of 13, so he did better there. 2019 WUS Dubai, 10 out of 14. So Rauno on a run of 170 to 225 kilograms here seems to do very well. Like I'm going to be rating him very well on Atlas Stones. Not Tom Stoltman well, but well. Ivan Makarov in that same 2019 Strongman Champions League World Record Breakers. He didn't have Atlas Stones, but he had bag over bar, so close enough. Bag over bar. He had 5 of them in 39.82 seconds, which was only good enough for 2 out of a possible 11 points there. So the chances not looking good for, I don't know about Pavlo yet, but at least Makarov doing these 5 events trying to get a World's Strongest Man bid. But hey, it might surprise us, so you never know. Gavin Bilton at this year's Strongman Classic did 4 stones in 42.91 seconds, and that was good enough for 3 out of 11 points. At this year's UK Strongest Man, though, he got 5 out of a possible 8 points on a 100 to 175 kilo stone run. I assume this stone run's going to be heavier than that. Probably go up to 210 or so would be my guess. Andy Black in the 2021 UK Strongest Man in that same run, 100 to 175 kilos, got 7 out of a possible 8 points, so he did very well. And so that's all the research for all 5 events, for all, now it's 11 competitors, one of whom is doing only the deadlift, 2 of whom were originally deadlift only and have decided to do all 5 events. And the addition of Andy Black and Gavin Bilton and the removal of Asko Karu, both Stoltman brothers, and Iron Bivia. I hope I got all that right. So there you go. Those are all the changes that have happened for 2021 World Open, including the 2021 World Deadlift Championship. So who's going to win? Well, I've kept you in suspense long enough. It's Oleksii Novikov. So here's why. The deadlift event, the deadlift championships, as I mentioned in my previous video, I think Pavlo NAKONECHNYY and Ivan Makarov will split 10.5 points each. They will both pull 475. Then I feel Adam Bishop will have 8 points, and so will Gabriel Pena. They will pull 455. Then I feel Oleksii Novikov and Gav Bilton, Mikhail Shivlyakov, and Rauno Heinla will pull 425, good enough for a split of 4.5 points apiece for them. And then you'll have Evan Singleton and Andy Black at 1.5 points, pulling 400. Moving on to the Viking Press, I feel like Oleksii Novikov and Pavlo NAKONECHNYY split that first place number of reps at 9.5 points each. You then will have right below that Evan Singleton and Adam Bishop splitting 7.5 points each. And then right after that, you'll have 5.5 points going to Gabriel Pena and Gav Bilton for the third best on the Viking Press. Then after that, I feel like you have Rauno Heinla, then Mikhail Shivlyakov, then Andy Black, then Makarov. So that'll be the lineup for the Viking Press and where I think everybody will place. Farmer's Chain, I think Evan Singleton wins it, then Novikov second. Third place for 8 points will go to Shivlyakov. Fourth place, 7 points, goes to Andy Black. 6 points will go to Gav Bilton. 5 points will go to Rauno Heinla. 4 points will go to Ivan Makarov. 3 points will go to Gabriel Pena. 2 points will go to Adam Bishop, and 1 point to Pavlo NAKONECHNYY. Moving on to the front hold, I think Gabriel Pena wins this again. I don't have any good evidence for this. It's a hunch. He has that. He and Evan Singleton both have that crazy motivation. I think Gabe's going to really get up for this. I think he's the type of guy that'll try to win an event that maybe isn't as important to some other competitors. So Gabe's going to win the front hold. 9 points to Gav Bilton here. 8 points to Oleksii Novikov. 7 will go to Evan Singleton. 6 to Pavlo NAKONECHNYY. 5 points will go to Mikhail Shivlyakov. 4 points will go to Adam Bishop. 3 points to Andy Black. 2 to Rauno Heinla, and 1 to Ivan Makarov. And then we go to the final event, the Atlas Stones, which I think Evan Singleton's going to win. I think he's going to continue his excellence from the Strongman Classic that we just saw. 10 points to Evan Singleton and 9 to Novikov. Same sort of very close finish. That could go either way. Novikov could edge him out. So 10-9, Novikov, Singleton, either way. But it doesn't affect the final placings. 8 points will go to Rauno Heinla on the Atlas Stones, 7 to Adam Bishop. 6 points will go to Andy Black, who I believe is a very good stone lifter. 5 points to Gabriel Pena. 4 to Mikhail Shivlyakov. 3 to Gav Bilton. 2 to Pavlo NAKONECHNYY, and 1 to Ivan Makarov. So that gives us our total points where I feel like Oleksii Novikov wins. Oleksii Novikov will win the 2021 Giants Live World Open with 40 points. Evan Singleton will come in second with 36 points. Gabriel Pena will come in third with 31.5 points. That's your 2021 Giants Live World Open podium. Oleksii Novikov, Evan Singleton, Gabriel Pena. Fourth place will be Pavlo NAKONECHNYY, doing very well given he was supposed to only compete in the deadlift. Adam Bishop will come in fifth, and I got burned a little bit there. Adam may do better than this. I seem to underrate him a bit, so maybe he gets up into the podium. Gavin Bilton will come in sixth, Shivlyakov 7, Rauno Heinla 8, Andy Black 9, and Ivan Makarov 10. Take that to the bank. Those are the Giants Live 2021 World Open full event predictions. So let's see if we have anybody in the comments. What's up, Ethan? Ethan, I got a chance to look through your predictions as well. How do mine match up with yours? Let me know, because Ethan knows his stuff. You know, if I'm way off from him, I'm worried. Definitely, for sure. And if you haven't checked out Strongman, the discussion page on Facebook, definitely do that. Ethan's got some great polls, great interaction from top tier people in the world like Trey Mitchell and Bobby Thompson. They frequent his page. So definitely go check out Strongman, the discussion on Facebook. I'm on there every day. If you're not there, you're square. Be there. Got to check it out. Andrew Schrader, switch Pena and Bishop around in the overall standings and you have a list. Hey, if I'm only off by that, then I'm doing well. So let's see. You have Pena 5 and like I said, Strongman Classic, I was off on Bishop more than I was off on anybody else. So you could very well be right. I could be underrating him. Where do you see Bishop doing better than I said? That would be my question. So, I mean, he's really well known for deadlift for reps. Do you think he's going to deadlift more than 455 max? You know, I know he did a 440 in competition. He had the 427.5 in prep. So, you know, 455, I think, is a decent guess at a peak for him. Viking Press, I had him at 7.5 is good points. Farmer's Chain, I'm going to assume, is where you think I'm a little low, because everywhere else, I think I've been fair, unless, again, the front hold at World's Strongest Man was an anomaly because he only did 10.37 seconds or whatever it was, because that's all he needed. So, yeah, definitely let me know where you feel like I'm a little short on Bishop. But, yeah, if I'm worried about my placing of anybody here, it's him. It's him for sure. Farmer's Chain. Yeah, okay. That's what I thought. Yeah, chain drag is hard to judge. Did you watch Clash on the Coast at all? Anthony Furman's show for the 105ers. That was an awesome show. And they had a chain drag there, and it seemed to give people fits. I got to try a big chain drag. I can't speak. I got to try a big chain drag one of these days and see what all the hoopla is about and why it's so difficult, because yeah, it gave people fits at Clash on the Coast. So, but yeah, fair comment about Adam Bishop. And again, wouldn't be surprised if he places higher than I said he would. Let's see. Patrick, what's up, Patrick? Kind of fell out of keeping up with the major deadlifters, but I thought Rauno had already been lifting better than 425. He did. There's been some commentary. I think Laz said the same thing, that Rauno's looking a little bit downsized from what he was previously. So I didn't. He's done 455. So in my research, he did 455 in competition, which would be exactly what he needs. See, it's a 30-kilogram difference, the jump from one deadlift round to the next. So it goes from 425 to 455. So he would have to equal his best competition deadlift that I could find in the data, on the day, which is possible, but size does matter, and he's looking a little bit smaller. And even if that brings him 5 kilos below his all-time best, it's 450 instead of 455 and doesn't get him to that next tier. So that's all. But yeah, it's very, very, very possible that he could hit that. But what do you guys think about, is anybody going to pull 505? Am I wrong there? I really thought Asko would do it, and I really think nobody will now that he is not there. He was really descriptive on his social about when he did his, 482, I believe, where he said, I didn't even eat well that day. I didn't sleep well. It was, he had kind of like the worst conditions and was not that far off. So let me just go back and take a look at my research once again for Asko. So Asko had, he did a 482, and I think it was with no suit and no figure 8 straps, a stiffer bar than the Texas deadlift bar, not eating well and not sleeping well. He did 482. So I don't know. Anybody feel like any of these guys are going to pull 505? If anybody does, I think it will be Ivan, but I don't think he will this time. Yeah. He's kind of been, maybe it's just my perception, but he's kind of been in the news for challenging for a deadlift record more than the other guys, or longer than the other guys, I should say. I'm learning about the other ones more recently, but yeah, Payman would have been pretty cool to watch as well, but again, he couldn't make it due to travel restrictions. What I had said on my previous video about him, though, is that when he did his best lift in prep, his trainer or his coach was kind of like slapping him around and getting him very amped up and psyched up. It's like human smelling salts. Like, instead of using smelling salts, have a guy slap you around. And I was saying, like, with travel restrictions, I don't know if he'll be able to bring his trainer with him to slap him around and get him going. So be interested to see how much he can pull without the slapping. Andrew Schrader says, no one is going to pull 505 if Asko isn't there. Pavlo has the potential to, but he won't because he is doing the entire competition. Yeah, there is sort of that part of your mind. I don't know if that part existed in Iron Bibby's mind at the Strongman Classic of holding back, but in most strongmen it does. You don't necessarily go all out on a first event if you know that you have a whole competition to do, especially if you can win a World's Strongest Man bid from it. So you make a very, very relevant point there. So it's getting late here on the East Coast. I'm probably going to wrap it up. If you like what you've heard this evening, you like the analysis, you like all the work that goes into it, please like the stream. I really would appreciate that. And the YouTube algorithm would appreciate that as well. Please subscribe if you like it. Hit the bell button and click all next to the notifications so you're around for my results show. So I have paid for the pay-per-view for the World Open and 2021 World Deadlift Championships tomorrow. I do intend to watch it. I do intend to bring you the news as soon as it's available, and full breakdown and analysis. So we'll see you then. Have a great night. And of course, as always, until next time, ciao, homie.